Hello, Andy Lash here, and thanks for joining me on this video to learn how to create an Amazon Associates ASTORE. Now, an ASTORE is the source of information for my new program, Retail Store, Categories and ASINs. And several people have asked me to create a video that would show them how to create an ASTORE, since many people are not familiar with this program from Amazon. So what you do to get started is to log on to your Amazon Associates account and click on the ASTORE tab. Once you do that, if you've never created a store before, you'll get a button that says Build an ASTORE Now. So I'm going to click on that. It asks me if I want to restore previous configuration from an old store. I'm going to say no. And it goes to a page that says Create ASTORE Pages. Now this program operates like a wizard, so you'll be able to see at the top each step through the progress till you finish the store. And it's really very quick and easy to do. So the first thing that we're going to want to do in the program is to create our category pages. Now, if you've gotten to this point, I'm assuming that you've studied Amazon and determined what categories and subcategories and products you want to include in your store. So the first thing that we're going to do is start creating our top-level categories. And when we're creating top-level categories, we want to click on this area, your ASTORE settings, so that the category that we add is at the highest level. And I'll show you later why that's important. First thing you do then is click on Add Category Page. Now you'll notice that right away the program is filled in this pane over here to the right, and the first blank is the category title. Now we're going to want to change that, and I'll show you a couple different ways to do that. The next thing we come to is a drop down. Now the drop down determines where the products are going to come from that are going to be included in this new category. So if we click that down, you'll notice that there's 3 selections, and the one that I choose 9 times out of 10 is add products from an Amazon category. Now the other 2 are selections that you can use if you want to add products individually. But for me, I like to have programs do as much of my work as possible, so 9 times out of 10 I choose the middle one. Once you do that, you'll get a button that says Select an Amazon category, so we want to click on that next. Now if you watched my earlier video, you know that I created a coffee and tea store, and what I want to do in this ASTORE that we're creating now is I want to set up the categories necessary to add coffee making machines, tea making machines, and espresso making machines. And since I know that's what I want to do, I know those are in the kitchen department. So I'm going to scroll down here till I see the kitchen department. I'll click on the kitchen department, and then I'll click on coffee, tea, and espresso. And you'll notice that there's some coffee makers, there's some tea machines, and there's some espresso machines. So to add the first category, I'm going to click on coffee makers, and you'll notice that there are some subcategories under coffee makers, so we want to click on this box, include all subcategories. This will help you to put products into subcategories that'll be easier for your customers to find. And then we just click Save. And when we get back to this page, you'll notice that it's added the top level category, category makers, and then 4 subcategories. So the next thing we want to do is add the category for our tea machines. So again, this is where it's important to click on this top level line up here that says Your ASTORE Settings. If we click on another line, it'll add the category wherever we're at down here. So if I want another top level category, I click on this line and I click Add Category Page, and again it's created a new category at the same level as coffee makers. And I'm going to do my drop down here, click on Amazon category, click on Select, and I'll go to Kitchen again, and I'll go to Coffee. Now when we get down to tea machines, what you'll notice is that there's 2 types of tea categories here, hot tea machines and iced tea machines. Now if we select one of these right now, it's going to put those in at the same level as our coffee makers, which we just added, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to back out of here, and I'm going to show you that if we click on this new category, one of the things that we have the option to do here is to actually type the name of the category that we want. So I'm going to actually create a category that's called tea makers. Then what you want to do before you do anything else is just click save. Now what happens then is that it creates a new category that doesn't actually exist on Amazon and that's empty, called tea makers. So we'll click on tea makers because we want to add subcategories under tea makers, and then we go back over here, we go to our drop down again. Actually, before we do the drop down, we want to go and say add category page. That's very important, and we'll get our subcategory is started. Then we'll go to the drop down, say add product from Amazon category, select a category. Again, we go to kitchen, and then coffee. And when we go down here, now when we select hot tea machines, it will put them in at the appropriate level that we want. I always click on include subcategories even if I don't see any, because I want to make sure I get everything. And once we do that, you'll see that our hot tea machines has actually been placed as a subcategory under a category that doesn't exist in Amazon called tea makers. The next thing we want to do is we're going to click on tea makers again, and we're going to say add category page, and you'll notice that again it created a category subcategory under tea makers. Now we go to our drop down again, we click on add products from Amazon category, select category, we go to kitchen again, and then we go to our iced tea machines. First is coffee, then our iced tea machines, and we'll click on include subcategories even though we don't see any here. And now we've created our second subcategory under tea makers. So we're ready to move on to our last of the top level categories. So again, you want to click back up here at this line, your ASTORE settings, because we're creating a top level category in this store, and then say add category page. And you see that the new category is added at the same level as coffee makers and tea makers. So if we go in here and we say add Amazon category, we go to kitchen again, and then coffee. Now what we find here is again our espresso machines have two categories at the same level as coffee makers, which is what we don't want. So I'm going to cancel out of here again, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to actually type in this espresso, and I'm going to say espresso makers, and I'm going to click save. And again, it's created another subcategory here, or our main category I should say, that's empty. Now we click on that, and then we're going to say add category, and it's going to put our new category under this category that we created. If I click on that, I'm going to say add products from Amazon category, select Amazon category, go to kitchen again, and we go to coffee. We go down to our espresso machines. We'll click on this, click on include all subcategories, and save. Now this particular title is too long for me, and I want to cut that down. So I'm going to say just take this out, machine and coffee maker combos, and I'm going to click save. That shortens that up some, and that looks better to me. So you can make your name changes here in the ASTORE, or you could actually do it in my program. Either one will work. Again, we're going to click back here at the espresso makers level, and we're going to say add new category, because we want to get that category started. So it's underneath that espresso makers. We'll click on the new category, do the drop down, click on select an Amazon category, and we go to our kitchen again, kitchen department, coffee, and we'll go down to the second espresso machines. Now when we get in here, you'll realize that there's some subcategories. We definitely want the subcategories to break our products out. Makes it easier for the customer. One thing I wanted to mention also is that for any one of these selections that we do, we have a box down here for keywords. You're able to enter keywords, and then the products that would be included in the store would only be the ones that match that keyword. Now that can be very powerful in getting just exactly what you want into the store. And we click Save. Okay, so there we have it. So actually, this is an example we're going to see in a minute here that the espresso category is the main category, espresso machines is subcategory 1, and then these categories underneath it are category level 2 categories. So we're just about done here, and one thing I wanted to show you is that you have the ability to resort these. So if I click on tea makers, let's say I wanted espresso makers to be first, I can click on tea makers and the down arrow, and it'll move that whole category and all the subcategories down and change the order of your store. So you can actually reorder any of the subcategories or the main categories, whatever you want to do. I'm going to click on tea makers and I'm going to put it back up here because this is the order that I wanted. So we're done making our top level categories and our subcategories. Next thing we want to do is scroll down, and we'll just click continue. Now you'll see we're at the color and design step here. None of these things have to be changed for our purposes for a source of information for the categories and ASINs program. You can make changes if you want to, but it's not needed. Let's just say coffee maker store, and we'll see that'll be the name of the store when we get finished. So I click continue. Now it's on the sidebar and widgets. I just leave this alone because it makes it easier for my program to sort through the code and find the categories and ASINs that we want. And then we just click finish and get link. Now you actually have created a store. It's on the internet. It's ready to sell products. The only problem with Amazon A stores is that it's very hard to get any traffic to them, and so we're just building the store for the purposes of getting the categories and ASINs out of it. But if I want this, I take this main URL here, if I copy it and then I paste it into a browser window, you'll see that we actually have the store that we've been working on. It's on the internet, it's ready to sell. We have our coffee makers, we have our tea makers, and we have our espresso makers. And then under espresso machines, we actually have another sub-level under there. So if I click on coffee maker store, that's what I typed in, go back and get my main URL here. Now we're going to take this over to my program. We're going to plug it in here. I'm going to say remember this, and I'm going to click build categories from ASTORE. And what it'll do is it'll just read through all the pages in that ASTORE and get the names of the categories, the subcategories, and put them in a grid here to use for any store that we want. Okay, so that's finished, and you'll see we have our main category, coffee makers, and with our subcategories here under coffee makers, our tea makers with its subcategories, espresso, and we have two subcategory ones, and then we have a subcategory 2. So this is the categories under these espresso machines. And you can actually go one more level deeper with this program if you want to. You can have a subcategory 3. Now, since I'm adding these new categories to an existing store, what I want to do is I want to change the category ID, because I've already got categories starting at 10,000. So I'm going to go over here to my starting category number, and I'm going to change that to 20,000. and I'm going to rebuild that list of categories and subcategories. Now this way, that category ID number will not conflict with existing categories that are in the store, and so I'll be able to add some categories to an existing store. So everything is the same looking down through here, except for the fact that we start at 20,000 and we increase by 100 on each one. So if I go, I've already made a connection to my existing coffee store. We'll check that. And then I go on to this page here where we create the rows in a format that the Fresh Store Builder program understands. I just click on Build Database Category Rows, and it starts our categories at 20,000 and creates all the needed information for our store. And then I can click on Populate Database with Category Rows. Make sure that I'm ready to go ahead. I say yes. Now it says I found some rows from 20,000 and up. Did you want to continue to delete those and re-add them? I'm going to say yes because I did this yesterday and already have some in at the 20,000 level. So it deleted those and added the 15 that I just created today. Now if I go back to the internet, I'm going to log on to my store and I'll show you how the categories look in the store. Okay, so if we say View Categories, now you'll see that these initial categories here starting at 10,000 are the ones that were already in the store that I created on my original video. And then once we get down toward the bottom here, you'll see that the ones starting at 20,000 are here: coffee makers and the subcategories, tea makers along with its subcategories, and espresso makers along with its subcategories and sub-subcategories here under espresso machines. So that's it. We've created an ASTORE. We've captured the categories and subcategories. We've populated those into our Fresh Store Builder store, and we're now ready to acquire the ASINs and put those into the store. But that's all you really need to do to create an ASTORE. So if you have any questions about creating ASTOREs, just send me an email and I'll be glad to answer those. And thank you for joining me on this video.